This week's classic interview is kind of a reference to the midterm elections. Last week we had the midterm elections and we saw all sorts of extremist candidates elected. We interviewed one of them earlier this week, former Navy chaplain Gordon Klingenschmitt, now state representative-elect in Colorado. And I want to remind you of one crazy right-wing candidate that did not get elected. This is back from May 26th of 2010, just before the 2010 midterm elections. Joan Heffington. Joan Heffington, just a reminder, she believed she had God on her board of directors. Just a reminder about one extremist candidate that thankfully did not win. Joining us on the phone is Joan Heffington, who's running for governor in the state of Kansas. She also has a primary coming up on August 3rd. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So I need to get this question out front right away, which is the only other Kansas interview that we've done is with Shirley Phelps Roper from the Westboro Baptist Church in Kansas several times, and her interviews are always really popular. What do you think of her church?
I have not really researched their church. I've heard things about them in the news, but I couldn't give you an opinion there.
But you must know about the whole God Hates Fags things, right?
God Hates Fags.
That's their whole. You've never heard of the West?
I've heard of what they do, and when they're out there.
It's despicable, right?
Excuse me?
It's despicable, right?
Well, like I said, I know that they were picketing
the
funerals and that sort of thing, and that's pretty amazing.
But you don't think it's despicable? You think it's okay?
Like I said, I can't give you an opinion because I haven't researched everything that they do.
But the term saying God hates fags, is that acceptable?
No.
It's not, okay.
No.
So what does it mean that you want a biblical and constitutional reason to exist for the passage of any new laws? Explain that a little.
Well, most of that goes back to, we follow the Ten Commandments, basically. Those were on the halls of justice. But where are the two that Jesus gave us, which is love God and love your neighbor as yourself?
And you think laws should be made based on that?
Well, I think the more we keep our laws like God's laws, the better off we're going to be.
And what about separation between church and state? Doesn't that violate it?
Actually, I think, that was a law that was tacked on to a bill in 1959 by then Senator Lyndon Baines Johnson.
But it's a law now, right?
It is but nobody really read it. And to me, we need to be repealing some of the laws that are out there. And I think we've been going down the tubes ever since that one went in.
So which laws other than that, what laws would you repeal?
Well, there's definitely one that we're seeing out here that's a problem. Public Law 95-79, Title 50, Chapter 32, Section 1520, Chemical and Biological Warfare Program.
1520 or 1521?
1520.
Okay, go ahead.
It says, the use of human subjects will be allowed for the testing of chemical and biological agents by the U.S. Department of Defense, accounting to congressional committees with respect to the experiments and studies.
Okay, I think I understand what you mean with that one. But what about, for example, with abortion? Do abortion laws fit in under biblical reasoning?
Well, I think so. I think, I am against abortion. I feel a woman has a choice, and that choice is, do I want to keep my baby and take care of it, or do I want to give it up for adoption? Because, once God causes the sperm and the egg to unite, it's His will. You have to let it happen.
Are people able to prevent pregnancy, or it's just God's will?
No.
God decides.
Excuse me?
Does God just decide when people get pregnant, or can people prevent pregnancy?
People can prevent it, yes.
Yeah.
But once it happens, I think you have to let it happen. And if you don't, you will be disciplined. I think you'll be disciplined down the line.
Like, how do you go to hell, or how would you be disciplined?
Well, only God will determine that.
But what's your sense?
For instance, I've known two people who are very close to me who had abortions when they were young and then were not able to have children, and they regretted that.
So
terribly.
this isn't the first time I've heard this. There are many religious people, I guess we can say, who believe that if you have an abortion, you then get punished by not being able to have kids. So you've seen that happen.
Sometimes you're disciplined in that way.
You've seen it happen.
Yes.
Wow. So would you try to make abortions illegal?
I think there are like I said, there are only two instances. I've had to go around with my lieutenant governor candidate because he is totally pro-life.
We'll get to him, yeah.
Yeah, I think there are two instances. I told him, I know you're 100%, but I'm 98, I said, and the two cases would be, say, for instance, emergency situation, a woman is in a car accident.
Of course.
And she's the baby is, there's just a lot of injury, and you have to take the baby to save the mother's life. It will be a rare occurrence, but it will happen.
Of course.
Yeah, the other one is if they know ahead of time that a baby is going to be extremely malformed.
Right.
And to me, then a woman should have a choice there. And maybe she wants to go ahead and have it, and she thinks it can be corrected after it's born. But to me, normally the man is not the one who has to take care of that child for the rest of his life.
Well, we're assuming a lot there, but I know of instances where that's happened. Let's get to your running mate, though. Mark Hollick is his name, correct?
Yes.
So Mark, actually, I read a response he wrote to a press release. I have it here in front of me. Mm-hmm. He seems to be happy about the killing of Dr. George Tiller in Kansas. Correct me if I'm wrong. He seems happy about it.
I don't know what you're referring to. I have not seen that.
It's a letter. It's a response to the Heartland Transformations press release, which was mourning the death of the murder of the doctor. And he essentially says, one dies, thousands mourn, thousands die, no one mourns. He says that we should essentially not be mourning the death of George Tiller.
Well, I don't think that actually makes him happy. I think you're assuming something there. I haven't seen that, so I couldn't give you an opinion. I'd have to.
You haven't seen a letter where your lieutenant governor is indicating that he believes the death of a doctor is a good thing. You haven't seen that letter.
I have not seen that actual letter, no.
Has he ever indicated to you that that's his opinion?
No, never.
So don't you think you should know that if he's your lieutenant governor?
I should know what?
That's his position, that he believes that the murder of a doctor who was practicing within the law is a good thing. That seems important for the principal candidate to know.
Well, I think again, you might be reading a little too much in there, because when you say it's a good thing, did he actually say it's a good thing, or are you assuming that? You see, I think you're reading too much into that.
Well, it seems between the two of us, I'm the only one who's read the letter, though.
Well, like I said, I can't give you an opinion right now. I'd have to read it.
Okay, well, please do submit it to us in writing if you care to, and we will let the audience know.
Okay, and that letter is dated when?
The letter is dated, let's see. I just have the text. I cut out the date, but I see very clearly. I have his email. I have all the information in front of me.
If you'll give me the date of that letter, I'll ask him about it. And
we will do that.
I will get back to you.
Our producer is making a note to do that.
Okay.
So you also want to allow the teaching of Christianity instead of evolution or versus evolution in schools? Versus. Okay. Would you allow other theories as well?
Yes.
So any theory could be taught in the school?
I was thinking about it the other day, and I thought a class, in fact, you could give it like the acronym CREATE.
Mm-hmm.
Christianity, religion, evolution, atheism, the end. And what that means is how all of these different beliefs, how they correspond to the end of your life. And I think that would be important for children to make decisions. Which one do they want to follow? And, to me, there is life, eternal life in heaven, and is that the choice you want to make, or do you want to follow one of these others?
But how does believing in evolution negate the fact that you could believe in heaven?
Negate the fact? I don't think it negates the fact, but if you're a Christian, you believe in Jesus, you believe Jesus is the Son of God, and you try to live your life to please God instead of yourself, and that is, the whole crux of Christianity. That's what gets you to heaven, and according to the Bible, and that's what I believe. And I think kids especially should be given this choice. How do they want to live their lives? Do they want to live them so that they get to heaven?
Okay. You're the founder of the Association for Honest Attorneys. Now, you're not an attorney, correct?
No.
Isn't it odd that the Association for Honest Attorneys has only 3 board members, one of which is you, and one of which is God? God is a board member. Let
me go back and explain. When we formed in 2003, there were 4 of us. Mm-hmm. There were 3 gentlemen. One's a former lawyer of 27 years.
Yeah.
The other one was a city inspector in the town where I live, and we had known each other for a long time. And the other one was my former boss out at Boeing. And so as we have gone along the way, we had some concerns with one of them, so he dropped out. Then there were 3 of us. There was not God. Then, like I said, the city inspector, he was with us for 4 years until the chemical and biological warfare started happening. Then he was persuaded to leave our organization by
But God is on it now, though.
Yeah. So we decided to put God on there because He's always protected us.
So God is a board member of your association?
Yes, he is.
And you personally have a very litigious history yourself, don't you? I mean, tell us about some of the lawsuits you've filed.
They're all on our website. If you go to our website, you can Google on Association for Honest Attorneys. Click on supporting documents. There are 7 lawsuits there. They are not all mine. Case number 4 is about a man whose divorce went on for 6 years.
But
he was near suicide when he came.
No, but let's talk about the ones that are yours. I mean, you alleged in one lawsuit that the President George W. Bush conspired to kill you and your husband, right?
He was involved. That is my opinion, and I have to say, my opinions are based on research over the last 7 years by our organization.
Yeah. But so your opinion is that the President George W. Bush was involved in a conspiracy to kill you and your husband.
President George W. Bush authorized the use of national security letters.
Yeah.
I believe this is under the Patriot Act. And when I wrote to him, because they had brought false charges against my 14-year-old son, instead of trying to help me or respond, they put me on a terrorist watch list. And, this involves not just, hacking in your computer, monitoring your phone calls, following you, getting in your bank account, keeping you from getting a job, going after your kids. It's to the point that if you go into a hospital, they try to use chemical and biological warfare
wow.
against you. And this is what happened to me in December of 2006. Went in for corrective surgery in 2007. They used something called a steroid cocktail mix in my IV. I feel like when I woke up from surgery, room spinning around, something told me this isn't right. I unplugged my IV and let it drip into a bedpan all night, or I would have died.
Okay, but Joe, I think aren't we getting a little bit into the weeds here? I mean, that means George W. Bush conspired to murder you and your husband?
Well, what they did was they brought such health problems onto me that my husband had a heart attack and died. He was, he was 50 years old. He was a thin man. He was not overweight. He had no trouble, had never had any heart trouble of any kind, and until 30 minutes before he died. And this, like I said, the stress over a 4 to 5 month period right before he died is what caused it.
Well,
I was having such bad health problems.
I am very sorry to hear that. And, just on the whole, though, I do have to say, in all honesty, that in reviewing the lawsuits, it seems like, although you're in this association of honest attorneys, that you've been involved in a number of strange lawsuits, to say the least, wouldn't you say?
Strange? Well, there are other people who have experienced them just as well. And so if you look on chapter or case number 7, that is a man whose wife was actually killed by a steroid cocktail mix. And what did he do? He had ongoing litigation with a former state representative. It had been going on for 7 years. They couldn't get to him, so they did it to his wife, and she died.
I wish we had more time. We've been speaking with Joan Heffington, running for governor in the state of Kansas.